Welcome to our admitted student webinar. This is the final webinar right before the June 1st deadline. June 1st is when you guys have to let us know whether or not you'll join us in the fall. So here's our last push to review everything Penn has to offer. In today's session, we will be discussing the following. You'll hear a message from our Associate Dean. We'll also introduce the many panelists we have, and I'm so excited because this webinar we have so many panelists and some of them are our recent alumni. So I hope you'll get some really good information. We'll also review some frequently asked questions based on the questions you guys have sent us via email. So I hope this will be really informative for everyone. We'll also have a brief presentation by our career services representative to help you think about how Penn will allow you to prepare for your future while you're in school. And then we'll take some questions from the chat box. Okay, so I'd like to welcome and introduce you all to our Associate Dean, Dr. Boon Thau.
All right, thank you very much, Christina. First of all, congratulate to everyone for getting admitted into Penn Engineering. We have one of our biggest pool of applicants this year, so getting in is definitely not easy, and it demonstrates your ability, and our goal is to make sure you are able to succeed and do well at Penn. Today's webinar is a bit different from the last one. We brought together some of the folks you met earlier, but also student leaders, career services to give you the best advice possible. I would like to start off on the next slide with some of the commonly asked questions. In the last webinar and also subsequent questions that we received, there were two questions that were quite prominent. So I wanted to just kick off by answering these questions. And in order not to hold up the other panelists, what I'll do is answer these questions, and happy to take any additional questions on the chat box, whether it's personalized question for yourself or questions you have in general. So the first question is, when will the campus be open in the fall semester? So at this point in time, we are waiting for directions and advisory from the university, which in turn will depend on what the state of Pennsylvania and what the city of Philadelphia decides. What I can tell you right now, based on information that's publicly released by our Vice Provost of Research Office, is that starting this summer, there will be some resumption of research activity in phases over the summer. And I am quite certain that we will soon also have more details on the educational plans, and we'll make sure it's made available to all students. What I can assure you, and also my entire staff can assure you on our end, is the following. First of all, whatever information that we'll have will be transparent, and we'll share them as quickly as we can in order to minimize any uncertainty on your side. We'll also make sure that if you accept our offer, you will not be left behind. You have the option of deferring, but you also have the option of taking classes remotely if for whatever reason you cannot get to campus physically on time. And above all, Penn Engineering, all our staff, everybody here, we will always have your best interest at heart, no matter how things evolve over the next few months. So we can do a deep dive into the process of deferral, but I'm sure my staff will be able to, on this call, will be able to give you a lot more details. But broadly speaking, I just want to point out there's a couple of scenarios that's available. One of that is you could defer completely and choose not to take any classes, and this could apply to all students, whether it's international or domestic. However, keep in mind also, we have options for you to consider that may not require you to do a drastic deferral. So for example, if you're an international student, due to visa delays, you're not able to come here physically at Penn in fall, you can still make academic progress by taking classes remotely in the meantime. And we'll make available sometime this summer the list of classes that are available for remote learning. And for US-based students and also international students who are already presently in the US, you can matriculate, start classes remotely as Penn students. If you're an international student, that will require you to transfer your I-20 to Penn. And we have Jeremy Sphor from ISSS who's an expert, and he can offer more details later on. All right, so there was a second question that came up at the last webinar, and we wanted to kind of get the best possible information. And at this point, based on what we know, right, we have some good news for everyone. Due to the generous support from alumni, we are going to be able to offer some partial scholarships for incoming and current master students for fall 2020, right? You would have to matriculate and start taking classes either remotely or in person in fall 2020. We would expect that these scholarships may reduce the cost of attending Penn Engineering by up to 15%. Exact details of the scholarship process will be announced at a later time, but we will make the application process as straightforward as possible. All right, so that's all that I have at this point. I'm going to hand it off back to Christina, and I will continue to answer any questions that I see on the chat box.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. All right, so next I would like to introduce our two admissions representatives. Ladies, you can please unmute yourself, and I'll pull up your frequently asked questions shortly.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry Ferraiolo. I processed many of your applications, and I'm glad to see that you're joining us today and hope to see you soon on campus. There's some questions we get often, and the answers are quite simple. When is the last day to submit the final transcript? Well, in your email, we had asked August 1st, and now we've moved it to September 1st, but the final day that all documents should be in should be at the very end of October. If you have any problems getting your final transcripts or proof of degree, please keep us in the loop so that we know that you're trying. We will work with you as best as we can. Also note that we changed our mailing address because some of the mail may have taken longer to get to our mailroom because of confusion because the building is closed. And there's signs posted, but sometimes they don't read the signs. I don't know what happens, but it doesn't get to where it needs to go. So we decided to change our mailing address to our mailroom address. So all the documents that you send over the summer should get to us when we eventually get back on campus. If you send it to the other address earlier, I'm sure it's sitting in our mailroom right now. You would have been notified if it couldn't be delivered. So don't worry about which address you send it to. But if you haven't sent them yet, please send to the new address in the Levine building. Next question is, how can I officially accept the offer of admission and enroll for fall? All you have to do is log into your application. You're going to click accept, which I hope you all do. And then you're going to pay your deposit. If you're a master's, PhD should be done already. And that's all you have to do. And doing that will trigger us to send you out an email that will tell you what documents are missing. Also, we'll be sending out I-20 instructions, and then that's all you have to do for that. And then the next part, Abby will talk to you about if you decide to defer.
Good morning. How do I request a deferral? How can I ensure that my request to defer is approved? Should you choose to defer, we ask that you email once you have accepted the offer and paid the acceptance fee. you should contact the department to which you have been admitted. We ask that you email them, and the deferral process will begin. How do you ensure that your request to defer is approved? You will receive an email once the request has been processed. How do I know if I should be requesting a deferral? Truly, that is a personal decision. You've heard from Dr. Liu the options we have for the fall 2020 semester. If you choose after receiving this information and processing it, and you may even want to talk to the department about whether the deferral is the best choice. Dr. Liu also talked about the visa process and that it has been delayed. We understand. Again, it is a personal decision as to whether or not you should defer, but we will work with you, however you choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby and Sherry. So let's meet our next team, the Academic and Student Affairs team. So once you officially join us, these women can assist you in any issues that you may have with your academic program or your academic coursework. So ladies, please unmute yourself and answer the questions we have for you.
Good morning. I'm Tori Frew. So I will start with the first question. I was accepted in the master's program and I'd like to transfer. What is the process? So we get this one a lot. Transferring, you need to be in your first term full time, and then you can discuss a transfer with another program. We need the grades posted, and then we can do the process. So the student, if you're joining in fall 2020, you would come in, take your classes full time, and then do one full semester. So in the spring 2021 semester, you would be able to look into transferring into another program. Once you get on campus, we will discuss these options with you further as well, if you have further questions on them.
How can I view the list of courses available for remote instruction, and how do I ensure they meet the program the requirements for my graduate program? As Dr. Liu already alluded to, the courses, we should have the courses available in the summer. You'll also be getting email and correspondence from your graduate program coordinators. These are really your frontline people that you're going to be working with in all aspects of your program. So they are going to help you register for courses, pick your courses, and they will be able to tell you, what's required. So we would be doing this whether we were physically seeing you or whether you're doing things remotely. So look for an email from your graduate program coordinator, and you can also look at, if you go onto your program's websites, we do have your course requirements listed there.
Okay, next question. Will students taking remote classes be able to act as a teaching assistant, and how do you find those opportunities? TAing is, as far as we're aware, Alyse, it's not available unless the student is in the United States and
Correct.
here, but
Yeah.
we believe Jeremy will be able to discuss this a little later on when he talks with regarding ISSS items. And how do you find the available opportunities? These really are based more so on each program and each department. Some departments do offer TA ships for students or RA. They will, typically the student will take that class first. They get an outstanding grade in that class, and then they will go and talk to the instructor and say, hey, I did a great job. I got an A+ in your course. May I be a TA for you? And they will then work with you on that. Typically, it's not in your first term. The instructor does want you to take their course first and make sure that you have mastered it completely, and then they will discuss possibly being a TA for their course.
Great, thank you, Tori and Alyse. So our next panelist is Jeremy Sphor. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeremy Sphor. I'm the Assistant Director of ISSS for University of Pennsylvania, and I work very closely with Dr. Liu and Alyse and Tori and the rest of the team at SEAS to help all of our international students to arrive at Penn and in the United States, and then also to help them set up any other F1 or J1 benefits, such as work permission for possibly internships or post-graduation OPT. And for most of you SEAS folks, that would also include the STEM OPT option for the STEM extension. So I'm gonna talk about some of our FAQs here, and I want to let everybody know that, you know, ISSS and SEAS work very closely together to coordinate things between the academic side and the immigration side to help our Penn students as best we can and have their, you know, best outcomes in mind. So the big question that we keep seeing all the time is, everybody keeps asking about if we take classes remotely in the fall, and how will we be able to, if we're not physically in the US in September, will we be able to do CPT in the summer of 2021? And right now we are Penn, the whole university, and SEAS, we are sticking to the plan that, and the immigration rule for the way our school is set up, that students need to be in the US in F1 status for 2 semesters before they are eligible for CPT. So that really means that if you want to do CPT in the summer of 2021, then you need to physically be here and be fully enrolled in the fall, for the whole fall, from September all the way until May. That's 2 semesters. And we understand that many of you may not be able to physically get here until January. That is a distinct possibility for many of you due to immigration delays or travel bans, etc. So in that case, we are still planning for the 2 semesters, but the 2 semesters might be spring, January to May, and then possibly summer semester, with then the opportunity to do CPT in the fall of 2021. But just the key takeaway is, got to have 2 semesters in F1 status enrolled in the US. And the next question, if I live outside the US and you don't have a visa, should I defer 1 semester or a full academic year? If my visa is successfully processed, can I travel to the US before the deferral period ends? And can I come to campus and resume classes in person? This is a good example. Like, some of you might not get your visa until October or November, but at that point you could enroll in remote classes during the fall if you choose to, and start your studies from your home country, but you cannot arrive here in the middle of the semester because we need to follow our semester start dates. So either you need to arrive in late August or very early September, or you need to arrive potentially in December or early January to start classes in January for spring semester. So you can't come in the middle. Okay, you either need to do remote or defer a semester or defer a year, but that's up to your individual situation and your individual choice of how you want to do it. So that's a, that's a tricky thing, but we will still work with you to advise you on when to arrive and how to arrive. But the main message is you can't arrive in the middle. You have to be here for the whole semester. And, we will work with you to facilitate that as best we can. And another question is, if you're an F1 student currently in the US and you want to return home before fall semester, will I be able to return to the US before fall semester starts? That is a big unknown at this point, and that's beyond the control of Penn and ISSS and pretty much everyone at this point, because this all depends on the situation around the world and travel bans and airlines and all those kinds of things. If my advice to you is, if you were currently an F1 student at another school and you're coming to Penn in the fall, I would advise you not to leave this summer. I would advise you to stay put and come from your school directly to Philadelphia and to Penn. I would advise you not to exit, because many of our current students have left the US in the spring, and we are concerned that some of them, maybe many of them, may not be able to get back here for September. So I would advise you, if you are here, to stay put in the US.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep.
All right, so now I am really excited to introduce you to some of our recent alumni, class of 2020. So the first person up is Akhilesh. And what is really awesome about him and the other people that will be speaking from our alumni class is that they're all award winners. They're all received our annual Master's Award. Akhilesh received the Outstanding Teaching Assistant Award. So congratulations on receiving the award, and congratulations on your recent graduation. Please unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Akhilesh, and I was a master's student in embedded systems in the class of 2020. First of all, I would like to congratulate each of you on getting admitted at this amazing university. You will be finding yourself among the brightest minds in the country, over the whole world, and you will work towards a degree that you're going to remember for your life. So congrats, everyone.
Great, thank you. I'll come back to you in a second when we post the frequently asked questions for our students.
Sure.
So next, I'd like to introduce Ritvik. And so what is really amazing about him is that he also won an award this year. He won the Outstanding Teaching Assistant Award. So please unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Ritvik, and I just graduated from Embedded Systems with my master's degree. And congratulations everyone to make it through.
Thank you. Stand by for frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
The next new alumni is Karen. Karen recently received an Outstanding Service Award for her time as a master's student at Penn Engineering. So Karen, please unmute yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen. Nice to meet you all, and congrats on getting into Penn. So I just finished my master's in data science, and I also did my undergrad at Penn with systems engineering. So happy to answer any questions about anything about Penn.
That's awesome. Thank you, Karen. And our final new alumni, Bowen. Bowen received an Outstanding Academic Award. So congratulations to you. Please unmute yourself.
Hey everyone, this is Bowen, and I'm a master's student in data science graduating recently, and congratulations on the admissions.
All right, great. So I'm so happy to have our recent alumni with us because a lot of the questions we receive from you all via email have to do with the current student experience. And we thought who better to answer those questions for you than our current or recent students. So I'm going to post these frequently asked questions that I often receive in recruiting. And I'd like for each of the 4 panelists who just introduced themselves to just unmute yourself and answer whatever questions that you think would be really helpful for our participants to know.
Yeah, so I can take the first one. Why did I choose to attend the graduate school at Penn Engineering? So the first thing which struck me was like Penn being an Ivy League. It's one of the most prestigious universities in the country. So I was an international student once. I was an international student, and this is one of the things which struck me. And basically, you are free to choose any course based on your interest, and you can work towards a world-class research. And personally, I worked on a research with Intel Labs, which was coordinating with UPenn. And while studying at Penn, I also collaborated with researchers from MIT and UCLA. So I worked on a number of research projects over here. And basically at Penn, there is no limit of what you can achieve. That's what has been my personal experience.
Yeah, I'd like to add that I basically chose to come to Penn because of the interdisciplinary aspect of it. So not only is there like a great engineering school, like a lot of the professors and like your peers are working on like projects across schools too. Like there's a lot of collaboration with the medical school and with the business school and stuff like that. So honestly, any intersection of topics that you can think of that deals with engineering, there's definitely some like world-renowned professor working on that research. And as long as you take initiative, you can like find those opportunities and really dive deep into whatever you're interested in.
And as for me, I think attending graduate school at Penn Engineering is an important step of my career development. Penn Engineering provides students lots of opportunities like they have the previous speakers have talked about working on great projects, and usually students could select a subject to undertake in the future. So if you're interested in machine learning, you could find your interest in courses like computer vision, artificial intelligence, computational linguistics, NLP, deep learning, and etc. There are also various types of courses highly related to machine learning, and they almost covers all the topics and practical skills that you might use in your future professional career. And you could find your focus, and you could also learn from a lot of hands-on homeworks and projects, like building neural net system that can translate Japanese sentences to English, or detecting patients with PTSD and depression, and from their traits, using NLP or machine learning techniques. And as for me, I'm also interested in operating system and distributed systems. So even as a data science student, I could get into these computer science courses I'm interested in, because Penn Engineering also provides a high degree of flexibility when students are choosing which courses to take. So that's why during the job interviews, I could tell the interviewers I have implemented some like operating system and like a Google Drive or a web service that works out like a cloud storage. And I could also share with the interviewers like what problems we have when we are trying to develop a search engine or how we conquer it. So this experience and projects play a very important role in my career, and that's also one of the most important reasons I suggest students should choose Penn Engineering.
So what advice do you have for incoming students?
Okay, I think I can start here. I would say that don't just limit yourself to the curriculum which has been given to you, because Penn, I think, as everyone said, it provides like a lot of opportunities to you. So you can, I mean, even if you are an engineering student and you want to go into music, you can go there. You can explore a lot of things. Maybe you're interested in something in medical devices, so you can go and interact with the doctors themselves, see what the problems they are facing, and try to come up with solutions. Maybe you have good startup ideas, so you can go and explore those as well. I think Penn provides really good resources for that, for those things and stuff. Yeah, so I mean, I think just don't focus on your curriculum. I think look outside. There are a lot of things for you to explore.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's so many different opportunities as long as you like look for them. And then also like all the program coordinators and like staff at engineering, they will always be like emailing out different opportunities. So beyond just like research and TAing, there's a lot of talks that have been on campus. And even though it's been COVID-19 right now, there have been a lot of online webinars as well as like different professors' research and people's like talks about what they've been up to. I'd also suggest reaching out and like finding mentors or joining different study groups and clubs to meet like your fellow peers, because there's so much great talent on campus. And it's like, there's so many chances that you can like work with others and expand your horizons.
Yeah, I agree with Karen, and yeah, you will meet so many great people here at Penn, so don't forget about the communications, talk to the professors and talk to your classmates and get involved and build things you are passionate about.
Yeah, and I like to add that talking to professors really helps. I mean, I took 2 independent studies in my entire duration, and the thing about independent study is basically you can design your course, your curriculum yourself. So even that is possible. If you don't find a course of your interest, you can actually go ahead and talk to the professor and design the course yourself. So that's an amazing thing.
Thank you for that. I'm going to combine the final 2 questions because I think they really speak to the community we have at Penn. So could you tell us which student organizations or university resources you found really helpful towards completing your degree?
I guess I can start. So for me, as far as like resources that I found helpful, the program coordinators, as touched on earlier, they're definitely like the front lines if you have any questions academically and like planning your curriculum and finding other opportunities. They're a great place to start. Then after that, like joining different clubs or different organizations. For me, because I did my undergrad at the same time, most of the clubs I joined were focused on undergrad, but there definitely are so many types of engineering clubs, whether if you have interests in like Society of Women Engineers, there'll be professional oriented stuff like that. There's also different like social groups that you can join. And beyond academically, I found another great resource was career services. They do a lot to help you find different opportunities based on what your interests have been career-wise. And yeah, there's also a lot of like online like Facebook groups and other stuff of students, like there's CIS at Penn and stuff where you can ask like your fellow students about their opinions of different courses and like other opportunities.
And for organization, I think I would suggest there's a, for data science, you could join Word Analysis Fellow to work on some projects that provided by the companies. And for data science students, you could also join like Penn Data Science Group. They're holding some, they grouping some teams and to work on the Kaggle competitions. So, and for the university resources, I would suggest Handshake is very helpful, and you could find a lot of info sessions there posted on the website, and they update the events information frequently. And the career fair here is also so helpful. I got some on-campus interviews by attending the career fairs, and for international students, I think Wing Garden Learning Resource Center is helpful. They host some workshops at the beginning of every semester, like how to take notes and how to be a good listener in classes, which helps especially the international students to adapt to the classes.
All right, thank you, new alumni, and congratulations again for the class of 2020. And thank you also for the wonderful segue. Both of you mentioned, two of you mentioned a valuable university resource in career services. And so I'd like to introduce Jamie Grant. Please unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about career services.
Hi, thank you, Christina, and welcome everyone. I am so proud and glad to welcome you to your admission to the University of Pennsylvania, and congratulations to our graduates. I'm so excited to see what your next plans are. And I wanted to take a little moment today to give you a quick overview of what we can do in career services to support you throughout your academic journey as a graduate student. So there, right on the front screen, is our website, which is the home of everything we need to talk about related to career services. So I'll discuss what that means, because not everybody's school has that as well. And if we can advance to the next slide, that'd be great. Thank you. I'll introduce my team. We work very hard. I'm specifically with the engineering school, so it makes us very specialized in what we do. Help you understand how you can fit a career search into your new and likely very busy academic schedule, as all of your advisors and academic faculty can attest. We will keep you busy, and do some Q&A as well. So what is career services? Our role is to work with you regardless of where you are in your career journey. So whether you are very set on what you want to do, you're pursuing a graduate degree, you have a very narrow aspect of what you want to look into for your career path, for your internship or full-time job, that is certainly something that we can jump right into. But let's say you're wondering a little bit or taking a step back and trying to figure out, okay, I'm studying this amazing technology or this amazing field that I want to work in, but I don't really know what exists. I don't really know my own strengths in a professional setting. We can explore all those things with you too and introduce you to those ideas. So our goal number one is to prepare you, to give you the information and the guidance that you as an individual need for the most effective internship and job search possible. Anybody can click apply, 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 but we want to make sure that when you do apply, you get opportunities to interview and hopefully be considered for the positions that you're most excited about. In terms of advising, we, like I was saying, advise on everything career related. Resumes and cover letters, your LinkedIn. For our IPD and more design oriented students and MEAN, we do portfolio reviews, and not for the critical technical aspects, but rather, is the grammar correct? Is the phrasing proper for the types of audiences that you want to impress in the employment sector? We'll talk about interviewing skills. If you're new to the United States, we'll talk through hiring practices for you and what you can expect, what salaries might be relevant for the type of job you're pursuing and how to negotiate for the offer that you're really hoping to receive, and anything else. And if there's a question that's asked of me that I can't answer, I know pretty much everybody on the panel and can happily refer you to the appropriate office to answer what might be a semi-adjacent or unrelated question to career services. In terms of engagement, and I believe Bowen mentioned this as well, and thank you to you and your colleagues for the shout out to my office, we like to engage students. We work with hundreds of employers each year that come to Penn to recruit students from the engineering school and all of our other 11 schools for a number of different types of positions. Some employers do large career fairs, some employers do information sessions, some employers just post jobs. I think Bowen mentioned our Handshake system. Handshake is the #1 tool that you'll want to get involved with. It has our calendar on it for all of our employer events, the majority of which, at least for the foreseeable future, will be virtual. So you'll see those things there. All of our virtual job postings, all of our in-person job postings and internship listings, of which there have been thousands even since COVID-19 started. So clearly the demand for Penn students and graduates is still very high. And I'm delighted to say I've worked with many students from our programs over the past couple of weeks as we've been home to negotiate multiple opportunities and really evaluate what positions would make the best first step in their career for them. So stay tuned for hopefully less virtual and more in-person settings, but for the time being, we're there. We want to help you connect. We want to schedule those events and have those programs. And a lot of students have been asking about, will the career fair happen this fall? Our largest event, Engineering Career Days, happens in September. This year it's scheduled for the 15th and 16th. I anticipate at this time with almost 100% surety that this will be a virtual event, because we usually have about 1,500 students and anywhere from 80 companies and 300 recruiters present at that event. Obviously, that may not be possible in September of this year, but we are working diligently and incredibly hard to find the best resources, the best platforms, and to make this process of engaging in this unfamiliar setting for a lot of people as easy as possible. So please stay tuned for that. We also help you connect with alumni to ask questions like, how did you receive your offer? And what kinds of things do you love about what you do? Or what kinds of things do you wish you had learned at Penn so you can take advantage of the kinds of opportunities that graduates wish they had when they were here? So we are more than happy to introduce you to all the resources that you can use to connect with alumni. And lastly, as I introduced before, we want to help you explore your career goals. This is a very individual process, much like the decision to defer, as Abby mentioned. So the idea that you and your roommate might be studying the same graduate program, or your friends or your classmates, but you might have incredibly divergent career issues, career interests, backgrounds of experience. We'll work with you on a one-on-one basis, me and my team of advisors, to really help shape and guide your individual journey, because we want you to make the most of your Penn education and reap the benefits of it for years to come. So this is my team. I couldn't say enough wonderful things about them. I think collectively we have way more years of experience in career services and career exploration and development advising than we'd like to admit. That's me on the left. Tiffany Franklin's one of our associate directors, Kevin Haynes as well, associate director, and Ashley Culver, who's a fantastic asset to our team as our administrative coordinator and typically the first line of person that you'd speak to when you reach out to our office. And so really thinking about how to fit a career search into your busy schedule, because obviously, and we believe this very, very firmly, that your priority as a student is to be the best student you can be. So our goal is to make your career search effort faster, more efficient, more productive, and obviously, in that sense, taking less time away from your classes. So it's important to understand what the hiring timelines are for your industry. I'll hear from admitted students now that want to get their handshake account approved, and they want to start applying for positions and look for internships. And especially for our international candidates, as Jeremy mentioned, there are restrictions around work authorization off campus that we want to be careful of and really observe. So if you find that you have a clear goal of what you want your career path to be, understanding these timelines is incredibly helpful. If you are not interested necessarily in doing something that is well represented at a career fair, let's say in September, perhaps you want to work for a small organization like a startup. They might be recruiting in September, but really they recruit when business needs. So that could be May or even June for that exact start time. Who knows, right? So our goal is to make sure that just like any good athlete, you're poised to jump when the opportunity arises. And we'll get you on your toes and have all of your documents ready, resumes, cover letters, your interviewing skills, so that you can take advantage of when it makes the most sense for you to be applying for things. You're going to set alerts for opportunities in Handshake and in other reputable job search sites that we'll advise you to use, because you don't want to be searching all the time. You want those things fed directly to your inbox, and we do everything in our power to make sure that we can send you the most effective information via emails. Please read your messages when you receive them for us. We collect data. I think the entire C's team can say we as a collective group collect more data than I think any other school that I've ever worked for, to really help us understand what do Penn graduates do for internships and for full-time roles. And those reports can be found the most up-to-date on our website that we have. We're still assessing the class of 2020, and we'll let you know as soon as those details are live. We want you to also realize that a job search, or an internship search, two sides of the same coin, they're not often easy or quick. So you really want to take the time to prepare. And again, that's something that we can do in short snippets throughout your time at Penn. Career Services is here for you. We are available for video chats when you're enrolled in courses, when you've accepted your admission and you're here on campus. You'll have your Handshake account activated when you are enrolled. We get that list of enrolled students from the registrar's office and create Handshake accounts for all of you to engage once you get to campus, whether that's online or physically. For questions, for wondering, for exploration, any of those things, there is no career-related question too basic to ask or too advanced for us to dig into. And like I said, we really want to make it a one-on-one experience, so reach out and let us know how we can help. We also firmly believe that self-care is incredibly important. There are many resources on campus for you. I know that your graduate coordinators and your advisors in your departments, as well as people like myself and my team, will always be encouraging of an understanding of the stressors that come with academic rigor and the effort that you put into your work, and the fact that you want to realize the most wonderful outcomes possible, and that can take its toll, and we want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and really able to be the best possible candidate and student you can be at the end of the day. So please, by all means, let us help you. We want to support you. We want to make your journey at Penn be as fantastic as we know it can be, and we're so, so proud of what you've accomplished so far and can't wait to see what you accomplish when you get here.
Thank you so much, Jamie. That was really informative. So now we are going to take some of your questions. Thank you so much for your patience as we reviewed the frequently asked questions and had a presentation that we hope would give you more questions to ask that might be specific to your situation. So we are going to now be using the chat box to have panelists refer to your questions.
There was a lot of questions asked, and I think we tried to answer as many as we can. And first of all, apologize if we couldn't get to all the questions, but I'm just scrolling down. That's one question that Jeremy will be the best person to answer, which is now, if the visa doesn't arrive and the student defer to spring, and what if it still doesn't arrive? Could they defer to the next semester? And conversely, if they defer and then the visa magically comes, can they bring forward their arrival date?
Yeah, so I guess the good example here might be, and I want to make sure I'm answering this correctly, but we can ask again if we need to. So what we expect may happen is people may not get visas until, I don't know, till like October or November. So then we would hope those students will arrive in January. But it doesn't mean that you have to arrive in January. Like if you defer for a whole year, for example, depending on the length of that visa, then you could use that valid visa to come in August of 2021. It's, you know, it depends on the visa that you get. And most of you, depending on your country, will get visas probably for either 1 year or 3 years or 5 years. But that, again, depends on your country. So if you get a visa in October of 2020, you could use it in January to enter, or you could use it the next summer of 2021. So it's somewhat flexible, I guess, when you actually use the visa to enter. You know, you have to have the correct I-20, and you have to, you know, be ready to be enrolled for that semester. But the use of the visa is more flexible, I guess. Does that answer, Boon, what you're asking?
Yes, I think so. I think one of the main takeaways I hope all students can get also is that Jeremy and ISSS are really the experts here. We at Graduate Admissions and Academic will do our best to answer what we know, but I think there's a lot of details that we may not. I think ISSS is in a better position than us.
Yeah, and Boon, I want to address another. I've answered several questions in the chat while others were talking. while Jamie was talking and other folks were talking. So I answered a few, but I saw one trend that a couple people asked, and I answered one of them, but maybe not all of you saw it. So the big question is how come Penn and C's is sticking to the 2 semesters of enrollment before one can do CPT, and other schools don't have that kind of system. This is a common question that students ask ISSS, and they're asking Dr. Liu, and many people are asking this, not just at C's, but at other schools at Penn. And let me give you a little bit of background just so you understand. Things like CPT, specifically CPT, that's curricular practical training. So that is driven by the curriculum and your courses. It's not driven by the internships or the jobs. Okay, so schools around the US have different curriculums, and in general, our Penn master's programs have a very rigorous academic curriculum that you need to be enrolled in for, again, at least an academic year before we authorize CPT or OPT for that matter. And it depends on how different schools are set up when they allow for CPT, and this also, all of our curriculum and the timing of our programs and these things are already reported to immigration to allow us to bring students. So it's not something that we can, just because of the virus, we can say, well, we just changed our curriculum and we're gonna just do CPT anytime now. It's not that simple. So other schools around the US that have co-op programs or work agreements with certain companies, that's already built into their curriculum. And it has been for, years, decades possibly. But again, Penn, Ivy League school, very rigorous academic curriculum, that we want you to do your academics first and really get the in-depth knowledge and training before you have the chance, meaning in usually your middle summer, to go out and then have the opportunity to pursue an internship. So it's not something that can be switched rapidly because these things are based on curriculum and on our system that we have set up with the government. So I understand that as a concern for a lot of people, but that is the background. That's why some schools are co-op schools. They're set up that way, but Penn is not a co-op school. And that's a nuance that I want people to understand. We do want to help you. Career Services helps you. Jamie's team helps you with internships, but we have a certain system that we need to stick to, I guess is the best way to explain it.
Yep, so I would also add to Jeremy's comments, and having worked with ISSS for a while, is that we always have the students' interest at heart best, and we would interpret the regulations in such a way to make sure you're compliant. I think that's very important because this is going to matter not just while you're a student, but later on when you apply for H-1B, green card later down the road. So making sure you're compliant and not over-promising and being transparent, I think that's really what Penn Engineering wants to do.
Yes, I agree with Boon. I work closely with Boon and with the team at C's to definitely help facilitate our students to be able to do CPT, OPT, STEM OPT, and they are very successful with it. But we are also very careful to do it correctly. And again, not to say that those other schools are doing it wrong, but they have a different setup than we do. So they have a way to do it, and we have our way that we do it. And it's not always the same.
Yep. So there was a couple of questions I saw about transcript. I think it relates to whether students need to send in their transcripts if they're deferring, and whether they could do it electronically. Thought maybe this is a question admissions can try to take.
Thank
Sure.
you, Dr. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Abby. Yeah, you definitely can send in electronic transcripts. They must come from the university or the transcripting service. What was the other part of that question?
If you are deferring, yes, you must send your transcript immediately. Admission was granted based on your final documents. So it doesn't matter whether or not you defer, the transcript is still required. The transcript and proof of degree is still an admissions requirement and must come in the fall of 2020, the term in which you were admitted.
Boon, there was another question about deferring. It says if they defer to spring and it doesn't get better and they need to defer to fall, can they do that? Or if it gets better, can they come in the spring? You can, if you defer to the spring and it doesn't get better, you would just have to contact your program coordinator and ask for an extension. We can defer you up to a year. So that's no problem. And similarly, if they defer to fall 21 and can they come back spring 21? Sure, if you deferred to fall and things are wonderful in the spring, you would just have to contact the program coordinator to come back early. So just to let it's flexible.
And they have the flexibility of requesting all the way up to the start of just before the start of the semester, right? I think this question came out a few times too.
Yes. By the first.
But you must inform us of your intent to come. You can't just show up in the spring. We need to know so that we can be prepared for your arrival. And in many cases, it has, yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think there are questions also on whether deferrals will be accepted all the time, some of the time, and a possibility for it.
I would think this round, they would all be accepted because that's what's going on in the world today. So if you feel that you need to defer, we're offering it, whether you're taking it online or not coming at all. We just have to be informed of this in July.
Yep. So that's a good point Sherry is pointing out is I think we want to decouple the opportunity for you to do remote learning and defer, right? So for example, if you got a visa delay, you couldn't come here, you could defer, but that doesn't exclude you from being able to take classes remotely in the meantime. So you could make academic progress while waiting for a visa.
I saw a question about the courses being offered making a difference as to whether or not this particular person chooses Penn Engineering. We ask that you contact your department for specific class and course registration.
Yes, that's a great point, Abby. And also, I think sometime this summer, we will make available the list of classes that would have the option of doing remote learning. And at this moment, to our best knowledge, we anticipate majority of the classes will have this option. I think we're close to 11:30. I know there's questions that we couldn't completely get to, but keep in mind also you can reach out to us, email us, and this will not be the last time you see us before September. We will be holding similar events, and the goal really is to A, be transparent, and B, to make ourselves available and as much as possible to reduce the uncertainty that's happening around us, and hope all of you stay safe and be able to see you. And yeah, Christina actually now has you want to take over, Christina?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Liu, and thank you all the panelists for answering our questions. And so I know a lot of your questions were not answered. So here you'll see the list of emails for your program's graduate coordinator. The graduate coordinator is the greatest resource within your department because they can connect you to resources outside of the department and university-wide, but they can also help you to understand the particular rules associated with your program. So please contact the graduate coordinators. They can be really of help to you. And also continue to, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like Dr. Liu said, we will have other events based on the questions that you pose. So actually you guys are helping to curate these sessions by sending us questions. Thank you so much. Continue to subscribe and pay attention to our YouTube channel as we post more information that'll be relevant to you. And we hope to welcome you to the Penn Engineering class of 2022 very shortly. It was good being with you all. Take care of yourselves.